Welcome back to another one of our Guns 101 series. I'm Paul Lathrop of the Polite Society podcast. Joining me is Rob Morse of Self Defense Gun Stories, Amanda Suffolcool of Eye on the Target Radio, and our guest trainer, Ben Branam, also a podcaster on the Self Defense Radio Network. He does modern self-protection. And we want to talk with Ben today about ARs for home defense with the gun laws the way they are in a few states and waiting periods. When the panic struck, some people wanted a gun, were not willing to wait the 10 days, and came home with some kind of rifle, be it an AR, be it a whatever. Ben, you made a career in the military for quite a while carrying an AR, and you train people to shoot ARs in the general public. What's your take on using an AR for a home defense rifle?
Good choice. Lightweight, they're easy to handle, they're ergonomic, they shoot a intermediate cartridge is a good way to put that, and it's no recoil. They're adjustable infinitely to fit anyone and any need. So the AR is a really great platform. It's been around for like 60 years now, and it just keeps getting better and better with modern manufacturing. And who knew that it would be around this long? But it can engage targets from 0 to 500 meters pretty easily. So you are going to be able to handle anything you're going to find around your house.
So Ben, if we're talking about an AR for home defense, let's talk about knowing your target, what's beyond it, over penetration, those kinds of issues, which is as we were having a conversation about what we would say is the preferred firearm for home self-defense, this is the reason why an AR kind of got my button going. So,
well, let's go real deep, real fast, and you're going to have to believe me, and you can look up all the ballistics. An AR round, because it's super light and moving at hypersonic speeds, over 3,000 feet per second, about 3 times the speed of sound. When it hits anything, it kind of starts turning and wobbling. That includes your walls, people, anything, a hard surface. So it bleeds off energy really, really fast. It's like throwing a wiffle ball out there. And especially if you have a wiffle kind of football, and instead of throwing it straight and it goes sideways, that's it. It's going to stop going forward really, really fast. And that's what happens anytime it hits a wall or hits a person or ricochets off a hard surface. You have that bleed off of energy really fast because it's the lightweight bullet, and now it's no longer stable. So it tends not to over penetrate people. It will penetrate a wall. After the second wall, it's generally not lethal anymore. So you get way less penetration in an urban setting than you would with your pistol. Your pistol, 9mm, your cool hollow points that you buy, it's going to hit your stucco walls, and it's going to plug that hollow point up, and it's going to go through like a full metal jacket, and it could be lethal at 4 or 5 or even 6 walls after it goes through. So your 9mm is actually going to over penetrate more than your AR rifle will because of the way the ballistics work and the lightweight and hypersonic speed that thing has. It's really why I love it. And this stuff is brand new with some of this ballistics. We still have old cadre around forever that haven't figured this out yet, haven't done the tests. This is brand new stuff that we just started learning 15 and 20 years ago. And in the firearms world, you don't know it if you're brand new, but that is a short little tiny period. We're still shooting guns that were designed over 100 years ago and still think they're the best thing out there. So we have a long memory here in the firearms industry and the firearms culture. But your AR, it's for over penetration in an urban setting. It is probably the 5.56 round. I'm going to say is probably the best thing that you could actually stoke your gun up with for self-defense. It's not going to go through people because of its instability, and it's not going to go through walls. With one caveat to that, the AR is the do-everything platform. There are rounds out there like the military green tips that are designed to go through things and keep going. Don't buy those. Nothing that is armor penetrating. You just want the stuff that is really, I stoke my gun with 55 grain full metal jacket 5.56 rounds. If you're running a 16-inch barrel or anything longer, that is all you need. It will work great. Don't worry about it. We could go way in the weeds of ballistics, internal, external, and terminal in this. But if you just want a simple round, the 55 grain full metal jacket 5.56 round will do you awesome in a self-defense situation inside your house.
Okay, that's a great point. That's a really good point. And I want to circle back to what you said about the firearms industry having a really long memory. One of the things that new gun owners will run into is that everybody heard something from Uncle Ed or Uncle Steve or my so-and-so who came back from what, or my grandfather said. And things change over time, but people know what they know, and they don't modify their knowledge from one generation to another. They share it. So what you're saying is the fact that they're going to hear from you who is up to date on the data. They're going to hear from somebody who's not so up to date on the data, and then this is going to explain to them why they're getting conflicting messages.
Yeah, this is where common knowledge is not always common knowledge. If you run in my circles, the common knowledge is pretty accurate. If you run into your gun store, your local counter guy, his common knowledge is not the right common sense you want out there. It's one of those things everybody knows, but generally everybody knows something wrong. So we need to work on that a lot in our industry because, like I said, long memories. YouTube is brand new. Look at it. We're doing this brand new so we can educate new people. Before you got an education, when I started doing this 20 plus years ago, I got an education by walking in the gun stores and talking to people. And then that was how I expanded my circle. And then I would try to take some training from anybody that I could get knowledge from. And some of those guys were really good and some of them were really bad. Throw my dad right under the bus here. He started shooting when he was like 10. And he shot 22 pistols and rifles for a lot, and he showed me a little bit, and I started to gain that knowledge. But he was smart enough to go, I don't know, this is all I know. And he didn't teach me anymore. But he didn't have his dad around to pass him on all these horrible things that we normally get passed on. So there's a lot of things that make me roll my eyes, and you see me rubbing my face when you're asking that question. I've been doing this my whole life. If somebody tells you that, don't listen to them. Go somewhere else.
When was the last book you read? Where was the last data you gathered? And we're not making fun of people. We're just saying that people are people, and they want to feel smart about things, and sometimes they're not as smart about something as maybe they thought that they were. So they're just inadvertently incorrect.
Yeah, and then even the military knowledge, it takes so long to change. These guys that are coming out of combat, if they haven't come out of the combat in the last 5 years, their data is so far behind. The military is finally catching up. After being at war for 2 decades, they're finally catching up. And to give you an idea, I was a Marine for 2 years before I took a civilian course on the AR. And I learned more in a 1-day course from a good instructor than I did for 2 years in the Marine Corps. So that's how far they can get behind. So just because you used to be in the military, or the guy used to be a Marine, or he used to be Special Forces, or he used to could, doesn't mean he could anymore. So you need updated information on this. And the AR is one of those platforms. It's 60 years old, but we are pushing the boundaries of what it can do, and we're really finding out what the ballistics are, how they work, and what that rifle system can really do 60 years later, and they're still pushing the numbers. So it's pretty incredible to be this point in history and to be a gun person and learning. But you got to watch where you get your knowledge. Find somebody that is tutored by 100 other people, not one. And I tell people that take my courses, you need to go take courses from other people too, not just me.
1 minute.
That's the absolute best advice right there, is to find out that your instructor has continued their continuous education, not just, well, I went once, or I know what I know. Yeah.
And I got one rifle out of one of my self-defense rifles out of the cupboard to show you guys. There's 3 things your AR rifle needs. You need some kind of sighting device on it, either an optic or hard sights, something. This one actually has a laser on it too, but I don't care. You need a light on your rifle so you can actually see what you're shooting at. And then you need a place to put that rifle if you're not using it, which is just a sling. And you can see that I've got a $10 sling held together by $2 rope onto this rifle, and it works great. Those are the 3 things you need on a rifle. I used to say there's 2 things. You need a light and a sling. Now rifles come without optics or sights on them. You need some kind of optic or sight, and I think the red dot for self-defense inside your house, there's no beating it. And there's some that give a stupid free plug to SIG right now. They make a Romeo 5 that's like $120. I think it's 140 last time I saw it, but you can still get them. It is the best optic for the price on the market. I've tried a bunch of them, and believe it or not, that's what's actually on this rifle right now. And this is my wife's rifle I stole from her right now. So I set it up for her.
Good job. Good job. Okay, let's wrap this one because we've got more messages, more videos, more things. So, folks, if you're brand new, I want you to stay tuned. I want you to pick another video and keep learning.